A sculptor once carved a figure in a single motion, then placed down his tools. When asked why he didn't refine or retouch, he said, "Because I saw it clearly the first time." He walked away, trusting the form would reveal itself in time, not through more effort, but through stillness. Some creations do not need repetition, they need release. What if imagining your desire just once, clearly, fully, and with feeling, was all it ever took? In this video, you'll discover a forgotten truth from Neville Goddard's teachings, that one powerful imaginal act, when done right, doesn't need to be repeated. You'll learn how surrender, not effort, aligns you with your desire, and how silent manifestation works through stillness, not striving. If you've been doing more, hoping more, repeating more, this may be the shift that changes everything. A master archer releases only one arrow, not many, because he trusts the aim. This is the essence of the imaginal act, not in repetition, but in precision. One single vivid moment, deeply felt, deeply believed, is more potent than endless mental noise. Neville Goddard knew this. He spoke of imagining clearly, once, and letting it be. This is the silent creation most overlook. When you imagine with full conviction, when you see the scene, feel its truth, and rest in its reality, something shifts. You've entered the frequency of it already being so. The vibration frequency becomes alive within you. You no longer need to tell the universe. You've already shown it through your feeling. That is the true act of conscious creation. There's a difference between imagining with intention and imagining with uncertainty. The former opens doors. The latter circles around them. Your energy speaks louder than your visualization. One clear imaginal act carries more energetic alignment than hours of distracted effort. It is the moment the seed is planted. The soul says yes, and the work is done. And yet most are tempted to revisit the scene, to tweak it, repeat it, ask again. But this can dilute its power. You must learn to trust that the moment you felt it, it was set in motion. And if that's true, then why do so many feel compelled to repeat it again and again? Imagine watering a seed every hour, not to nourish it, but to check if it's growing. Eventually the soil floods, the roots drown, and the sprout never breaks through. This is what repetition can become, a subtle form of doubt. You return to the imaginal act not to affirm, but to compensate for the lack of belief it already worked. When you imagine over and over trying to get it right, you're no longer in alignment, you're in anxiety. The vibration frequency begins to carry static. Instead of being the frequency of fulfillment, it becomes the energy of not yet. And silent manifestation depends on clarity, not noise. The more you adjust and revisit, the more your subconscious hears, "It still hasn't happened." This creates an invisible loop of delay. The scene becomes familiar, but the feeling of finality fades. You're practicing the desire, not the fulfillment. Energetic alignment weakens. Your vibration doesn't lie. That's why Neville Goddard taught, assume it is so and sleep in that assumption. Not, assume and ask again in the morning. One true moment is enough, if you let it be. To return to power, you must step back from the noise. Trust that what was impressed has been received. Let it settle, let it root, because what you felt fully once already exists within you. And now the key is not to keep imagining, but to begin feeling from the end. A person who is truly warm doesn't ask if the fire is working. They simply rest in the heat. That's what the feeling of the wish fulfilled is. Not effort, but dwelling. It is not thinking about the desire, but sinking into the state of already having. Neville Goddard called this the secret key, and it is a door only feeling can open. When the feeling is present, the outer world begins to echo it. You walk differently, you speak differently. The world mirrors the inner tone. In that state, silent manifestation takes form through subtle shifts, conversations, nudges, unexpected ease. And all of it begins with the calm certainty, it is already done. The feeling doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't even need to be visual. It needs to be true. A flicker of relief, a soft wave of joy, a breath of ease. These are the signals of energetic alignment. That is what anchors the imaginal act, not how vivid it looks, but how real it feels. You don't have to explain it, you have to embody it. This is the moment your inner atmosphere changes, and when it does, the outer must eventually follow. But too often, people imagine from outside the scene, not within it. They view the desire, but don't become it. And this subtle difference is everything. A man outside a house may admire its lights, but only the one inside feels the warmth. So it is with imagining. You must not merely look at your desire, you must look from it. This is the difference between longing and living, between wishing and knowing. To imagine of is to observe. To imagine from is to become. When you imagine from the end, your posture shifts. You speak differently, you move differently. You no longer seek the experience, you dwell in it. It's no longer something you are trying to get. It's something you are already living. This subtle shift is the pulse of conscious creation. You don't visualize wealth as if it's across the street. You feel the choices you'd make from it. The calm, the generosity, the stability. That's how vibration frequency works. It tunes your energy not to the desire as a goal, but as a memory, a living echo, the result of becoming, not chasing. And this is where the imaginal act takes root, not as a picture, but as a state of being. When you stop staring and start standing in the scene, everything changes. And from that stance, you no longer need to repeat the act. You're ready to release it, like a seed, into silence. A seed does not bloom by being remembered, it grows by being forgotten. Once planted, it disappears into the dark. It is not revisited, it is not disturbed, and yet something unfolds. The imaginal act is no different. Once impressed upon the subconscious, its power grows best in silence. Neville Goddard spoke of planting and walking away, not in neglect, but in trust. Silent manifestation is not the absence of desire, but the presence of certainty. The seed must die to sprout. And so, the imaginal act must be surrendered, released, given back to the unseen, where all things begin their becoming. In this stillness, the vibration frequency settles. You are no longer broadcasting want, you are vibrating completion. You are not watching the soil. You are living as though the flower is already on your table. This is energetic alignment, not forced, but faithful. The act was done. Now the unfolding begins. This is the quiet path most resist. But I tell you, the quieter you become, the more loudly your results arrive. And this path, the one that resists nothing, becomes the path of least resistance. A stream does not argue with the stone. It curves and carries on. So too must your energy move, not in force, but in flow. The imaginal act plants the desire, but it is the surrender, the stillness, that creates the path of least resistance. And where there is no resistance, manifestation becomes inevitable. Neville Goddard taught that effort often comes from disbelief. You act not because you're aligned, but because you don't yet feel it is done. But when you feel it, you let it be. There's no panic, no push, just a quiet knowing. That's the frequency of alignment, and the universe always follows the path of least resistance. If you find yourself over-efforting, stressing, chasing signs, pause. Ask yourself, am I moving from belief or from fear? The answer lives in how your body feels. Lightness means aligned, tension means misaligned. You can trust the way it feels more than the thoughts trying to justify control. And once you begin recognizing that ease is your compass, something remarkable happens. You stop needing proof. You stop needing signs. You start living as if it's done, and that changes everything. A king does not check the mail to see if he's been crowned. He simply takes the throne. This is the posture of one who lives as if the wish has been fulfilled. Neville Goddard's teachings made this clear. To live in the end is to act from the state of fulfillment, not wait for signs that it's real. When you wait for signs, you delay your own becoming. You place power outside yourself. The vibration frequency says, it's not here yet. Prove it to me. But when you live as if, you stop scanning, you start embodying. You move from the center, not the edge. And from that place, the world begins to mirror the truth you've already claimed. Living as if doesn't mean pretending. It means responding from the state you've chosen. If you were already wealthy, how would you walk, breathe, decide? This is the way of energetic alignment. You don't wait for reality to change your identity. You let your identity transform reality. The longer you wait for proof, the more you repeat the vibration of delay. But the moment you become the version of you who has, signs become irrelevant. And that's where the greatest power begins to flow. Through surrender, through silence, through a magnetic stillness that moves all things. A magnet never chases the needle. It simply draws it in. Surrender is not the absence of desire. It is the presence of power. Neville Goddard showed us that surrender, when properly understood, is not giving up. It's giving over, giving the outcome back to the unseen, while you remain in the feeling of fulfillment. When you surrender, you stop resisting the timing, the method, the form. Your vibration frequency becomes coherent, clean, powerful. You are no longer scattered across hopes and doubts. You are one signal: it is done. And this silent clarity pulls results toward you faster than noise ever could. Think of surrender as still water. It reflects the sky perfectly. In surrender, your consciousness becomes that mirror. You are not trying to attract. You are embodying what attracts. That's energetic alignment in its purest form. No tension, no noise, only presence and reception. And now you begin to sense the final transformation, that the imaginal act was never just about a scene. It was about a shift in who you are becoming. The mask no longer fits when the soul has grown. This is what happens when the imaginal act is fully impressed. It no longer feels like an event you experienced. It feels like you. Neville Goddard taught that the purpose of imagining is not to get, but to become. You're not creating something outside of you. You're creating the next version of you. When the act is done correctly, you begin to notice subtle changes. The way you think, the way you walk, the way you respond. It no longer feels like pretending. It feels like remembering. The vibration frequency shifts from desire to embodiment, from trying to being. This is when silent manifestation becomes permanent. You don't need to repeat or rehearse. You've become the vibration. You've stepped into the identity. And the world, obedient as it always has been, reshapes itself around your new self-concept. This is conscious creation in its highest form. And that, dear friend, is the forgotten power Neville Goddard hinted at but rarely explained. That one imaginal act, deeply felt and faithfully released, is not a moment. It is a rebirth. Where in your life have you been repeating when you could have simply released? What desire have you already imagined clearly, but held too tightly to let unfold? Let your answers rise in the comments below. When you express them, you imprint them. And if this teaching resonated with you, like the video, subscribe, and tap the bell to keep walking this quiet, powerful path of conscious creation.